way to intro and doing all kinds of new techie things today, none of which I understand, but he does, and that's all that matters. Welcome to the show. So we're on Facebook Live, but of course the show then is broadcast Wednesdays, 6 to 7 p.m., 100.5 FM in Vancouver, then available as podcast on Conscious Living Network, no, consciousliving.radio.org. And then we've thrown in a YouTube channel, so I'm now getting all bungled. And how do they find the YouTube channel? Is it Conscious Living Network
Yes,
versus
it's
radio?
Conscious Living Radio and Conscious Living Network. You can search them both, and they'll come up. So
It'll all pop up.
exactly, or you can just visit the website. It'll all be linked there as well, just to keep it easy.
So I'm Tasha Sims.
And I'm Marc Caron.
And our guest today, Athena Bari. She's a crystal Reiki healer, a Reiki Master, a mentor for energy self-healing. In addition to creating and sharing content on Instagram, blogging on her website, she's also written for astrology.com, been featured on podcasts, radio shows, and she teaches both to an online community and in person. She began her career as an actor, actually is related to Rita Hayworth and Ginger Rogers, but she left that world behind and founded Crystal Reiki Healer, which is an online presence for crystal, chakra, and Reiki education. She's written a book called Raise Your Vibes, offering fun and creative tools to do just that, raise your vibe, and in the hope that as we raise our personal vibration, we lift everybody around us. Today, we're going to talk about her book, and we're going to dive into the whole idea of vibrational frequencies, how it works, why you should pay attention to it. And it's like Nikola Tesla, who, for those of you who don't know, inventor, he helped design the whole AC electrical system, pretty wild cat. He said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So that's the world we're diving into today. Welcome to the show, Athena.
Oh, thank you so much, Tasha. Marc, thank you for having me on your show here with Conscious Living. It's such a gift to be here and share with your community and bring awareness to raise your vibes in the hope that we can all raise our vibes collectively, because we know it's been an easy of a year.
Yeah, it really has. What was your inspiration for writing the book?
Well, when it started, we were pre-pandemic, and it was really, there was all of this spiritual matter out there about, everybody's positive, everybody's happy. But then if we're all positive, we're all happy, why are we still dealing with all of these different things? Stress, anxiety, anger. I had done a lot of work with my husband, who had lost his country as a child. And so he had a lot of this anger boil over. And I had these 3 children that I'm raising. And I thought, I need to do this differently. I need to find a way to help them not take on his, any of his anger, help him heal through it. So we went to a mindfulness class through UCLA, and it really changed the way I was looking at things. I learned a lot about the brain and how that works. And then, of course, raising 3 kids, I wanted to do something that I could still be at home with them and still have kind of my own, individuality. And that's when I came into Reiki. And it has been just such a blessing in my life. I really feel like everything that has happened since has been since I started Reiki. So the book that also kind of came with it. And it's really just amazing to now share that with the world, with all of us. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you've mentioned that energy isn't bound by conventional laws of space and time. So how about we start by just some basic definitions of energy, and then maybe lead to unpacking what laws do govern that incredible healing power? So
yes. Well, energy is in everything, right? It cannot be destroyed. It cannot be shifted. You've mentioned Nikola Tesla and how, the amazing work that he has done. And people are really starting to come into that now. And really, you look around, everything has a vibration to it. I mean, there's talk that even what we see isn't really there. It's just a vibration, right? It's just energy that's bouncing off from light and how our brain processes. So there's many ways to look at energy, but the reality is everything has it. Everything is made up of it. So when you put positive intention and positive thought positive energy towards that, you are really, opening so many doors for yourself, creating opportunities for yourself, feeling better about yourself. If we look at stress, for example, what is stress? It's really something that you're thinking, right? It's something that starts in the brain, your thought process, and it literally changes your biochemistry. It releases cortisol in your body, it creates inflammation. All these chemical changes in your body happen because of something like stress, these energy shifts. So when we make that energy shift into the positive, imagine how much different your life can be if you're not living with worry, but you're living with love, for example, the highest vibration. If you're living with this, everything that you do starts to shift. And I begin that usually with a gratitude practice. Every day it's kind of like, I guess you'd say it's like a morning prayer, but the spiritual version. So every day, I'm so grateful that I slept well, or I'm so grateful that I have my bed. I'm so grateful I get to start over today. I am so grateful that my children are healthy. I'm so grateful I have my husband next to me. I'm so grateful that there's some sunshine outside. And just doing this little exercise, which is so easy, and you don't even think about it. It's so easy, literally shifts your own vibration into the positive. So then everything you take on for that day is from a positive starting point.
And so for you, the word energy and the word vibration or frequency, the same, or are they different?
I really tie them all in the same, because energy has a vibration, right? So there's energy. It's kind of your universal force, right? Or God, or the universe, or whatever you believe. And then with that carries a vibration, and that is, or frequency, that resonates out towards our beings.
But specifically, let's talk atoms for a second, because my understanding, right, is the physical body is matter and the atoms are vibrating at a particular frequency. And then as we move into the energies outside the body, if we're talking about subtle bodies, so there's our physical body, etheric body, emotional body, mental body, spiritual body, that the vibration is different. Literally, the atoms are vibrating at different frequencies. So that's my understanding.
Yes. So they can vibrate at different frequencies, but they are all connected. I mean, that's like saying your spiritual body and your physical body and any other body is separate.
No, I'm not saying they're not connected. I'm trying to explain to people listening what the difference is when we say energy and we say vibration or frequency, because I think there are
so if we're going to break it down, if you're going to break it down, you don't know what energy is or what vibration is. Let's say you have a crystal. Okay, let's take something physical that people can touch and hold. So this crystal just by itself is what? It's made up of, little facets and maybe some colors and some chemical makeup. Maybe there's some iron in there. Maybe there's some different, it's quartz or whatever crystal you're holding. That in itself is a matter, right? But in that matter, you have an energy. And that energy, where does that come from? Well, does anybody really know where energy comes from? I mean, is it something made? It's something all around us. It's from the heavens, the universe, where we're all part of. But that little energy, that little crystal also has a vibration, and you can measure it by its frequency. Does that kind of...
Yes. And so now let's take it back to the body, because that's what I was trying to lead into subtle bodies and how one measures or works with, because you are a whole system. Everything we just talked about when we talked about the subtle bodies is you. And yet you can't see or, with your eyes necessarily, or touch with your hands necessarily, although these are things you can develop. But initially people go, what are you talking about? There's a physical body, I see it. Okay, therefore it's real. And you don't just see subtle bodies unless you're open to reading in a particular way. So where I was leading it was this trying to sort of illuminate the understanding that even though our five senses are not the thing that's reading, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That knowing that energy is in every living thing isn't just a concept. It is discernible. And that would be my next question. is it a sixth sense that we would develop in order to read our own energy and other people's? How would you best read it?
How would we best read it? Well, learning to trust your intuition is kind of a sense in itself. So I don't know if we would call that a sixth sense or what we would call that, but that works, as a sixth sense. And learning to trust that is something like as children, we do naturally. As kids, they instinctively know, like, this is what feels right for me, or this is what doesn't feel right for me. But through growing up, where we have this society that has all these rules, and we have schools that have all these rules, and parents, no, don't say this or don't say that, and you start to take that in, like, okay, I'm not allowed, and you stop trusting that initial instinct that we have. And we all have it. We're human beings, we're animals, really. So we all have that instinct. And as you dive into energy and you start to learn that your body has a vibration, your thoughts have a vibration, as you start to learn that these all run on different frequencies, as you learn, you become a little bit more open, and you kind of are reminded of that, that little girl inside or that little boy inside that thought, I know this is right for me, or I know this feels good for me. And that's why children are so, and animals as well, pets especially, are so drawn to Reiki so easily. They're so open to it. Like, there's no, holding back or questioning or getting nervous. They're just like, yes, love on me with that beautiful energy. Whereas, people, as we get older, we get, we're hurt, we're jaded. We stop trusting. We stop trusting ourselves. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And you can't trust yourself. How can you trust anybody else either, right?
And the defenses tend to be the very things like plexiglass that prevent you from experiencing the energy, right? Because it just bounces if you're trying to keep yourself protected.
I'm not loving the plexiglass, I have to say. It's not one of my favorite things that we've come out with. Plastic in general has been pretty damaging to our ecosystem. So there's many reasons for that. It's in our oceans, it's in our who knows where they're putting it, and now we're covered in it too. So yes, but even plexiglass, it would be really interesting to test that. Actually, that would be a really cool experiment to see. You could do it with sound, even, to see how that vibration moves through that glass, or plexiglass, the plastic, because I don't think even plastic, can stop a vibe. You walk up in the market and you see somebody having a bad day, and they're just like, they're not saying anything, they're not getting upset, but you can just tell from tone, you can tell how they hold themselves. And plexiglass can't stop that. So even with our,
you mean loving them up, and you're right. I mean, I've done it on the street where, smile at people, and they could be as grumpy as can be, but you'll be shocked that all of a sudden this smile comes back at you. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes. So even plexiglass can't, there's a way to still raise ourselves up, even in this new world that we live in.
I think the plexi is important to notice, because then you know where you're defended, then you know what to do about the wounding you have, because nobody protects something that isn't hurt, like you're protecting an owie, an open wound, and we try to pretend we don't have them. So noticing the plexi is the first step to going, oh, I'm really contracted here, I'm defended here, and then you can enter it and dissolve it and open yourself. What were you going to say, Marc?
Well, I was just curious, so many people in terms of intuition, like in the past few years, I really, for me, was about trusting it. A few things happen and it's like, I gotta listen to that, because there's so many times and a situation happened and then I doubted. I went, oh, well, then that didn't happen. And then I found out the truth and it's like, oh, I was right. So how do people kind of clear the way for better intuition? Because as you were saying, there's so many people that, we get so conditioned and polluted, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and things. How do we, is there, I hate to say, make it cliche or something, but is there an easy way or some simple tools we can use to clear these things and sharpen our intuition at the same time?
Well, I love, of course, the blessing of Reiki for this. Reiki is just this divine light, this divine energy. And when you begin learning to work with this energy or channel this energy, you really do start to become clearer on your clarity of purpose. You really start to feel safe to take down these barriers, safe to open yourself up to trusting again. And your intuition does become stronger. And really, you got to do the work. So nothing's going to just come easy and come for free. You have to do the work. And I know it's so hard as humans that we want everything to be so easy and so quick and it's done and it's over. But it took years of conditioning, years of pollution, as you call it, to make this change in us. It's going to take time to undo that as well. So really, start with a gratitude practice. Start shifting your vibration and just from the morning. Try it. Do it for 5 days. See what happens. See what happens at the end of the day. Make it at the end of the week. Make a note of it. Do a journal maybe. It doesn't have to be anything. It can be on a note paper. You don't have to get fancy, and you can if you like. But do something simple, because when you keep it simple, you're able to, I feel like, better see the change. Whereas if you're doing 20 different things at once, you're going to stop and say, well, wait, which one helped? Which one did I do? So start with something like gratitude. Reiki, in my book, there's a self-attunement. I've blessed the entire book with Reiki energy. If people are willing and open to receive this, it's really there at their fingertips. They can. And just start with a daily practice. Whatever it is that you feel comfortable with, as long as it's something that you feel safe. And then you see, little by little, you begin to trust yourself. You begin to trust this feeling that you're now literally creating in your life, right? You're creating this vibration. And when you do this, little by little, you start to open up, you start to trust yourself. And then you realize, I was right. I had it there all along. Well, this is cool. And then you can start testing that intuition on other things, or working with your kids, or working with your spouse or your partner. It's kind of a little, baby steps. Nothing has to happen right away. And you do have to do the work, just practice. It's like when we learn to read or we learn to ride a bike, we have to keep trying and keep doing it. And then before you know it, you're not even thinking, what word did I just read? Because it's so automatic. And it's a bit the same with any skill that you're learning. And trusting your intuition is certainly a skill that we all really could use more of.
So when you say the work, tell us what you mean. We have to do the work.
Yes, well, you have to do the work. Well, you have to take care of yourself. Let's say, for example, with your skin. If you don't put sunscreen on, by the time you're 60, you're going to have, sunspots. You're going to have H spots. You're going to have sun, damage, right? But if you're protecting yourself every step of the way, you're minimizing that damage. When you're doing energy work, see, we are so influenced by our surroundings. We're so influenced by the people around us, by the content we watch on screens these days, by the people in our household, by our friends. And if you make that choice not to get, let's say, don't get tied into the drama today. Let's start with one thing, right? One thing, I am not going to dive into drama. So every time somebody says something like, negative Nancy style, did you see what she was wearing? Did you see what she put on TV? You say, actually, I really liked how she did her hair. Boom, all of a sudden you are switching that vibration from this negative, low vibrational kind of feeling that really sucks in your energy, and you're switching it into a positive. But it takes a conscious choice to do that. So when I say do the work, you have to remind yourself every time to do that, or you just get sucked right back into that void of low vibration. And it's the same thing with your journal practice or your gratitude practice. If you miss a day, it's okay. Like, don't beat yourself up, but pick back up on it the next day so you can get yourself back on that higher vibration. You feel better, and you notice you feel better.
So it sounds like, when I'm listening, that you judge your feelings? Like, one is negative and one is positive. That's what I think I'm hearing here. Because in that moment that you go, I'm not going to do drama, there might be, that's still something, like there's something bad happening there. I'm not going to do that, versus going, whoa, like my body just went and something's going on for me in this moment that the person's triggering. Therefore, let me take a look. And if that actually could be like a jewel, like a pearl, like the most important, valuable piece for you that you don't really conscious mind understand until you track it. My fear always is when people leap to the positive because they've decided that what they're perceiving is negative without doing what I call the work, which is adding this piece to it. That to me is spiritual leapfrog. And it ultimately ends up, it's a lot of work because it's not our nature to just live in one frequency. If it was, we wouldn't be embodied, right?
It is not our nature. No, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with feelings. You're talking about like a vibe, if I'm correct, like anger, sadness, like these are not bad, right? Like they're part of the human experience. But getting sucked into a drama, something that doesn't make you feel good, that I would consider bad. Why?
The behavior.
Yeah, the behavior. Because, and these are behaviors. I call them energy draining behaviors. And gossip is just one of them. Another one is criticizing yourself in the mirror. That's another one. That you get to make the actual choice of what you're going to do. And when you choose to go ahead and criticize yourself or criticize somebody else, I mean, look, there's always constructive criticism, right? We can always, sometimes that negative criticism is the one that boosts you to the next level. Like, oh, you don't think I can do this? Like, watch me. So sometimes it has a positive effect. But when you notice that this is making you feel bad, this is where you need to make a choice to stop that. Because you're just dragging yourself down. You have the choice. You have the power to change that. So we're not necessarily leapfrogging. We all have a shadow side, right? And a lot of us have to do shadow work, which everybody's always asks me, what's shadow work? What does that mean? And that's where you dive in and you deal with maybe those emotions or feelings that you have put aside, you've locked in a closet, you don't want to deal with, and they come up in your triggers, right? When somebody triggers you into something, it comes up and you're suddenly, why am I reacting like this? Well, because you have some shadow work to do. You got to get down in there and find out, go back to where you had this pain or this hurt or event that caused this pain and hurt, and work on releasing your emotional attachment to that. Because it's really our emotional attachment to this pain or to this hurt that will continue and as a cycle until we face it and deal with it.
And the belief we made up back then about what it meant, because it's all emotional to a kid.
Right.
But there's also a belief about ourselves, right, that needs to be corrected.
Right.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that can happen from even a parent as much as they love us. Like they were just having a bad day. They were projecting maybe. And then we took it as, I'm not good and I can't talk like that anymore. I can't express that feeling. And that's really unfortunate because you can, but we're human, we have to go through this too.
Well, and I love that you bring the shadow into our conversation, because I think it's for the rest of your life. I don't think it's about evolving out of your shadow. We don't need to behave out of our shadow. But to say you don't have one, everything casts a light. Everything has a shadow, including organizations. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of out there when I look globally. People are not in touch with the shadow of movements or organizations or any systemic or families. It's individual and it's also collective. Like, I think it's such a missing piece. It's not, to me, something to be done and gotten rid of. It's like, there's a beautiful oak tree. For it to flourish, it's casting a shadow. And so it's an acceptance of knowing it, but not needing to act out of it. That would be our evolution.
That would be so wonderful, wouldn't it? If people just didn't respond from their pain or their hurts, right?
But they shared it. They said, oh, I just noticed this just happened. Like, for me, that's a far more authentic world that I want to live in, as opposed to a Pollyanna, unicorns and rainbows, which I really, it is like eating cotton candy day after day after day. My teeth would hurt. Honestly, it brings out the worst in my vibration.
That's
because
your
it
trigger.
doesn't feel real. What?
And that's your trigger, obviously. There you have a trigger there. All of those, you know, happy and bright spiritual people. You're like, wait a minute, what about your shadow side? Come on, like let's bring that up to the light, right? Cast a light on that.
Well, because it's incongruent. If we are one and you are meant to accept all parts of you, it's incongruent to live in a polarity that says some parts of me are good and some are bad. Like it makes no sense. So
not bad. Yeah, I don't like that label either. I think I like light and dark better, or yin yang, right?
Yeah.
Balance. And that's where that comes from. But good and bad is kind of, I mean, we probably say it just subconsciously as part of our dialogue, but that's another place that we could do the work, right?
Exactly. To dissolve polarity. Yeah, I'm with you there. With you on that one. Yeah, I wouldn't say it triggers me. I'm just aware of it, and it's not satisfying to be in to me, it feels like plexiglass. Yes, actually, I can't actually connect because I want all of you, like really all of you, whatever that is. So I don't, all of you, not what you think, for everyone, not what you think is good about you, like just be real. And then there's connection, right?
And it's hard to be real because it's scary. You're vulnerable, you know, and that's one thing that I don't know if it's maybe a cultural thing. It seems very global to me at the moment, but it's this idea that we can't show that we have hurt or we have pain. We always have to smile and nod. We always have to be happy. And if we're not, there's something wrong with you.
Right. And that has permeated the spiritual new age world.
Yes.
So I am on a campaign single-handedly.
I love it. You tell them.
So where shall we go? I know you're big on the chakras, maybe a little bit about the chakras and how you work. And then let's give our listeners some really concrete things that they could do. It'd be fun if they got some specific tools out of this interview.
Yes, I love that. Well, the chakras are energy centers. I've studied 3 different branches of Reiki now. So I had a Western method and a Japanese method. In the Western, their focus is on the 7 main chakras. And yes, we can get into how there are so many more, but we won't for today. We'll stick with our 7. And in the Japanese method, they focus really on the energy of ki, which you have 3. So and if you look at where they are in the body, they kind of encompass the other 7 chakras. So it's really a nice blend together. And then the other one, of course, is crystal Reiki, which I love because it brings in that physical element to our spiritual element where people have a hard time trusting, hard time accepting, is this real? But if you can see that crystal and hold it, you know it's physical. So with Reiki, again, this is an energy healing. So when this goes out, I guess some of it has to be based on your faith, your trust. What helps is when people do have Reiki performed, they notice physical sensations or they become emotional, things like that. That really then helps them. They're like, oh, wow, that really did happen, didn't it? Like, okay, I guess it's real. So when I work with the 7 chakras, and I do 3 diamonds at the same time because I feel like, why do we have to choose? Let's we can do all of it. And I like to start with the crown only because this is where so much thought happens. This is where so many of the inner turmoils begin, is with our mind. So I always like to start with the crown. But then I feel like what's really important, and speaking of like polarities here, is that root chakra or the earth key. That part of us that grounds us to our earth is so important. And so many spiritual people, I want to get into my third eye and I want to open my third eye and I want to have this psychic,
this Kundalini awakening.
I want to yes, I want it all in this divine, amazing awakening. Yeah. And it's really not usually that amazing. Like it's not what you think it would be. It's not all roses and rainbows. But when we have that strong base, that strong root chakra, it's kind of like our anchor to this world and to our physical place on this plane. So you're welcome to then go ahead and explore the divine, explore all your spirituality. But, you know, like a balloon, instead of just flying all over up into the sky, you've got a nice little anchor there, kind of, you know, just keeping you grounded, keeping you aware that we still have to live in this physical world. So
Right.
we are still connected to each other, and it is amazing to go and explore and open your third eye and all this, but you have to have that strong grace, or you kind of get lost, you know, you kind of get lost in that whole world. So keeping that root chakra really strong is really amazing. Our sacral chakra, of course, this is where our womb is, or for men, like just below the belly button. This is also the earth key, which is what the Japanese call our energy center there. And our sacral, of course, is our creation. And then moving up, we have our solar plexus, where we have our power source, our confidence, also intuition, right? A lot of our intuition comes from this space too, trusting your gut, right? And also very important for, you know, just giving yourself that ability to get up and have the confidence to take on the world each day, right? When this one's strong, we're stronger. Our heart chakra, located in our chest. This is, of course, how we feel, how we experience, how we show, and how we, you know, experience love, the vibration of love and the connection to our family, to our ancestry, to our friends, our loved ones, etc. Our throat chakra, this is a big one that a lot of us, myself included, a lot of us have to work with, because this is how you not only express yourself, but how you are heard, how you hear, how you absorb the information that is coming to you. So when you're speaking with someone and you're replying, you want to be able to communicate. And when you communicate from a place of love, this is much easier for somebody to hear you. So many of our arguments and stresses are really just a lack of communication. So this one is important for that. And then our third eye, of course, where we have our, you know, connection to our more intuition and our psychic abilities and our clairvoyance or clairsentience, depending on what people are naturally gifted with and what they're working towards. And also kind of that intuition of how somebody's feeling, what kind of vibration you're getting off of them, what kind of vibe are they giving off. And then our crown chakra at the top of our head, which is really our connection to the divine, whatever that means for you. It could be the universe, it could be God, it could be Mother Earth, it could be, you know, whatever your belief system is. It's not limited by what someone says it is. That is your place, your connection to the divine, and our heaven key as well. So that's
your understanding. I want to kind of bring in the whole idea of a transmission. Let me just ask you first, do you believe that we're born with clear, open, fluid chakras, or do you think the family we're born into were literally already impacted by the unfinished business in that family and the vertical transmission?
Good question.
Yes, I know. Gosh, let's all get into that ancestral healing, shall we? Yes. Well, you know, life begins, right? Well, I guess that's up for debate too. I was going to say life begins in the womb, but then some people believe it's with the first breath. So I'm not going to get into that. But life begins when life begins. All right, we'll say that. And according to the Japanese thought method, you're born with your earth key, which is your root, your sacral, and your solar plexus, basically, when you kind of translate the diagram there. And this you're born with, and this is what is gifted to you from your family. This is your ancestral stuff. This is your connection to the earth. And so everything physical in it, which would include your family and your bloodline, I guess you would say. Your heart key, which would be your heart chakra, as well as your throat. These two you develop as you get older. You're not really born with it. I mean, you have that center, but it is not developed, we'll say, right? You have to go through experiences. You have to go through life experiences, and how they form is a lot based on your experience. And that's where our, you know, shadow work often comes into play, where we can work to heal any areas there that were maybe not, I don't want to say shut down, but, inflicted with pain. And then our third eye and our crown, I really believe, is an as person basis, because not everybody develops at the same time here. Some people are very open to divine thought, and that could be through religion, that could be through spirituality, that could be through Kundalini, that could be through yoga, whatever their practice is. But I think it's really something that comes to you and you develop at your own pace. And it's going to be based on your life, decisions, your life happenstance, like things that happen. But that is something that we can come into a little bit later when that develops per different person. Maybe you are 3 years old when it starts. I mean, who's to say? I'm not going to judge. If you're 3 and you're brilliant, you go for it. Get it.
Well, I love the focus on the throat chakra, because it's always felt to me that it's a choice point, kind of like the point of, am I going to speak for the voices of my first, second, third, which would say something entirely different than my spiritual body as I bring it in. If that becomes, when you said speak from a voice of love, act as love would, see through the eyes of love, hear through the ears of love, all of that is a choice ultimately, and will be reflected in terms of what comes out of here. But the same as, your shadow, if you're not awake to it, it's going to come out for sure, but it's usually not terribly loving. If it's acted out, right?
Yes.
Well, and this is where, in my experience, where, authentic self-expression and that conscious choice, as you speak, I love the way you describe that, Tasha, of, what's coming up from below and then what we bring in from above. And, it's balancing, and I'm guilty of this more than once in my life, of course. My self-expression of wanting to be honest and real, and then the way it comes out is really mistaken, ultimately by me in my form of communication, and received poorly. So it always comes back to that, because we're all kind of speakers, and we can say what we need, and we're aware. It's noticing those times where we don't speak the things that we that are maybe most important to us, or might be fragile result, possibly. It's been something that's been coming up for me for a while anyways, where I noticed that. And it's that balance, and where you say, Tasha, the choice of what and how and when to speak that.
Yeah. So let's look globally, shall we, a little bit before we head into maybe doing a little exercise or something. But I do want to talk about what's going on in the world, because it's so, for those people who are working with energy, it is crystal clear that something really big is happening. And again, it's not so simple as, bad virus. So what's your take on the global situation, and maybe COVID itself, in terms of energy and frequency?
In terms of energy and frequency, this has been a real doozy of the year. But I always like to say there's a silver lining. One of the things that has happened, even though we've all been kind of isolated, shut out, put away from each other, we've also really had a chance to tune in and look at what's really important to us. And we've spent so much time being busy with appointments, with deadlines, with work, with meetings, with kids, with all this stuff, that we really haven't stopped. We haven't paused to just think, what really matters to me right now? And this, as though, even though it was kind of this giant catastrophic mess, it's also given people a chance to tune in. It's given people a chance to look at their relationships with themselves and with others, and to kind of look at what's working and what's not. Some have survived the pandemic, some have not, but it's been really for our highest good. So that's one thing. And collectively, the energy, that's kind of been my entire mission this last year. And a huge part of this book is people have had so much pain as a result of being shut off from one another. And with distance Reiki, I've been able to reach so many people, thousands of people on Instagram, where we tune in and we'll do group sessions for everybody, just so that they can have a moment of peace for themselves. Because they're stirring with all of these thoughts of, you know, I'm going to get sick, I'm going to die, or my mom or somebody, and all these
Fear.
super scary
Yeah.
low, and you turn on the news and it's no better. I mean, you turn the news on and it's just, they're like infiltrating you with, you know, all these things that can happen that are all so negative. Like, where is the light? You know, like, you know, we've all been cast in the shadow. Like, there has to be a light here. And really this light is that we are realizing we're all connected. And even if it took a pandemic for us to see that, that's still important. It's still an important lesson. And being able to write this book and give it out to people so they can do some of that work themselves, some of that self-healing work, because we have to help ourselves, right, before we can help the rest of us. You know, if mommy's having a bad day and projecting on the kid can't fix mom, but he can work on himself. Likewise, if, you know, other way around, mom is projecting, if you can catch yourself doing this, like with that throat chakra, you can catch yourself voicing things that really aren't your truth, that you're spouting because it's coming from a place of pain. If you can just learn to pause that, we can really start speaking, you know, nicer to each other, better to each other, looking for the silver lining, getting our moments outside to ground our energy and be with our earth again. And let's get rid of some of this plastic that we were talking about earlier.
So do you have some tools you might want to offer, like your top 3 things to really raise your vibration authentically? I'm going to add authentically.
Authentically. Wow. Yes, I would hope so. Yes. Well, my top 3 go-to, without being just like every other spiritual guru out there. Yes, meditation is lovely. Yes, all of these things are amazing tools, but I really love that gratitude practice first thing in the morning. It's so important for shifting our energy and our vibration towards a positive. Just even if you have a bad day, it won't hit you as hard if you begin on a positive note. Another thing that is really amazing and works for that throat chakra are using affirmations. So often, and it's so easy. It's such an easy, free tool. Everybody has it. Everybody can do it. One thing that you can look at if you're feeling poorly about yourself, my hair looks like crap today, turn that around. Like, find a way to flip that. Whatever you're saying about yourself, flip it to the opposite. I'm being a terrible parent today. I am exactly the parent my children need. They chose me, and I'm here doing the best that I can. Today, you're not feeling well about yourself and feeling ugly. You are a beautiful being made up of so many incredible, intricate little parts working together all the time, renewing all the time. You are a goddess. You are a divine being of light, and that's enough of that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to lead with purpose. So affirmations are really nice. And again, that vibration is coming from your throat chakra. So exercising that, keeping that balanced, keeping that open without being blown open, but balanced, keeping this balanced, you can now hear from a place of love, speak from a place of love, and really have space for others and what they need to communicate to you. And when we pause for a moment in all of our madness, there is so much beauty in that pause, which I guess would be our meditation. I love to do it with Reiki, using my 3 diamonds, literally placing my hands together over my navel, taking some beautiful deep inhales, pulling that breath all the way down to your gut, steadying that energy source, and then pulling it up into your heart, slowly over your chest. And just take some beautiful deep inhales, allowing that energy and that light to come into your heart. Open it. And bringing our hands up to our crown or forehead. And allowing that breath to come down to our root and back up to our hands over our heaven key. And breathing for this moment, just nice, easy breaths. And when you feel like your head is a little centered, you're feeling a little more balanced, literally cup your hands and bring that energy, pull that energy down through your heart, that place of love, to your earth key, where your root chakra is, and allow yourself to have that safe and steady anchor. So now everything that comes your way, you are calm, you are centered, and you are balanced. So even if somebody comes up and gives you a hard time, you're okay. I got this. I'm nice and centered today. That's what I do every night. I find that that really helps. No matter what day I've had, no matter what kind of day my husband has had, brings me back down into myself, into my core, into my being, because everything starts within. So when we are calm, we're centered, we're able to see a little clearer, we're able to open a little clearer, trust a little more, trust ourselves, and be able to listen in on what we're really feeling, not the projections from others. Gives us a chance to kind of get rid of all that energy and just tune into our own.
Lovely. Do you have any events you want to tell our listeners about that you've got coming up?
Oh, thank you. Well, I am doing the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival out of London. They usually do an in-person, but of course, because of what's happening, everything is going to be virtual, which for me is wonderful. I get to participate from here in Los Angeles, and everybody out there can participate as well, because now it's a virtual event. They're huge. They've been doing this since the 70s. I'm not sure if you've heard of them. They're wonderful. So it's just mindbodyspirit.com, and they have a beautiful website on there. They have people coming from all over the world. I'm, of course, drawing a blank on all the names, but you've
That's
seen
okay.
them in all the titles.
Marc will find it and put it up online
go.
as well, which would be nice for our listeners to be able to
Thank
access.
you, Marc. Thank you.
Is it a weekend? How many days? Is it a one day?
It is running. It was supposed to be for a weekend, and now it's going to run. They've extended it. So I believe now it's the 24th to the 31st of May. And there are workshops, and you don't have to go to every single one, but they're about an hour and a half. And they have everything on there. People doing yoga, sound healing,
Nice.
Reiki, crystals, affirmations, like every raise your vibes kind of thing.
Shadow work.
Shadow work. I'm gonna have to do one on shadow work now.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, Tasha, because I was going to kind of interject a little bit, because Kirsten Schock, I don't know if anyone knows her personally, but she's watching on Facebook, and she asked, is there a recommended shadow work course anywhere out there that you would recommend? So
I have not taken one. That would be a beautiful one to create, wouldn't it? Maybe that's something
would have your people call my people, and we'll put one together, because I know Tasha is passionate about shadow work.
I know. I'm just chomping to say.
Oh, go ahead.
Like, is she in Vancouver, or is she asking in Vancouver?
She's not saying. I'm not sure at this point, but
here's what I know to be true. And a good therapist who does more than cognitive, because it's not your shadow is not in your mind. That's the beliefs about your shadow that are in your mind. What you want to access to change it is somatic. It's in your body. And so you can see that when you're trying to find a good therapist, you can see what their background is, and if they have a somatic approach, which means they're going to not just be talking for the whole therapy session, but you'd actually be processing, experiencing, accessing directly, because you can directly access the shadow. So parts work, or somatic work, or transpersonal work, any of those would be the words I'd look for when you're trying to find a therapist who does this depth of shadow.
Awesome.
Jungian background's really great too, because you get into it collectively. Like, yes, we have our individual, but it's also collective. There's a collective shadow going on that we express. That's important to know about.
And doing some past life regression is really nice too. I know we didn't talk about that too much, but all that ancestral stuff. Dr. Brian Weiss is amazing, wrote some great books on this, and he has some great meditations too online that can also take you back and help you kind of understand where some of this pain and hurt originated from, and so you can clear it,
Well, it's been lovely having you on the show. Your book, where's it available? Amazon, the usual places,
Thank
the usual
you.
suspects?
It is, yes, Raise Your Vibes is available everywhere. It has been, it's just a labor of love here making this for everyone. Barnes & Noble, Watkins Publishing, Amazon, of course. I've seen it on eBay, Target.
Right.
So everywhere that books are sold right now. And it's so amazing to be able to share this. I was doing pre-orders. We were doing Reiki for people who were coming in, and now that we're doing orders, I'm like, let's join everybody and just do some free group Reiki. Like, come together, let you order the book, and let's do our Sunday group crystal Reiki, which I hold every Sunday, and it's a nice way for us to all kind of connect energetically and start our day and our week vibing a little bit higher. So I'll be doing that for people who are interested in getting the book as well.
And your website?
And that'll be on my website, yes, crystalreikihealer.com.
Awesome.
And all the info will be there. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Athena.
Oh, love. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me, Tasha, Marc. It has been such a gift to have this wonderful spiritual conversation that just went beyond the surface. So I'm really grateful for that. Thank you.
We like deep diving. We do.
I love it. I love it.
And thank you. I just wanted to put a shout out to some of our viewers who made some comments as well on Facebook. Anne Bethune, I believe, is a friend of yours, Tasha. She says, hi, beautiful Tasha.
Hi,
And
Anne.
Donya Beatty from Surrey, she says, yes, gratitude practice are the three things she does in the morning and in the evening, and gratitude's a big thing for her. And then we had the other woman inquiring about shadow work, and they had a bit of conversation. And they also, Felicia Morel speaking about plastics and vibrations. Good points. So I'd just like to give a shout out and a thank you for the people watching, to know that we are here, we are paying attention, and we love your comments. So thank you so much for watching. Athena, thank you for the work you do and that you're doing in terms of changing the world. And Tasha, it's always a pleasure. I always I love doing this work because I get to learn things every week too. So thank you all.
Yeah, it's been fun. All right. Bye, everyone. Don't forget to catch the show 100.5 FM in Vancouver, Co-op Radio. Conscious Living is the name of the program. And yeah, it's been a pleasure.